Welcome to this tutorial of OpenEye's newest feature called Linked Cameras, which is available within CommandStation 2.3. In this video, we will explain the feature while seeing it in use, learn how to configure and navigate the new interface, and explain the benefits it can bring to our users. Linked camera viewing is a highly intuitive feature that allows users to easily and quickly track individuals or incidents by clicking on the screen in the direction a person is traveling. Available in both Live View and Search within CommandStation, users do not need to remember camera naming conventions or know which cameras are associated with an area, nor do they have to manually load these cameras. This allows them to follow individuals as they travel from one area to the next without losing track, or to continue monitoring an incident as it unfolds. Linked camera settings are saved to OWS and made available to all users once configured, saving the time and hassle of configuring each user's remote client individually. To begin, we launch our thick client, CommandStation. Immediately upon loading, you will be presented with a menu tree on the left-hand side showing the recorders that your login credentials have access to, along with the cameras that are connected to each recorder displaying underneath. In order to set up the Linked Cameras feature, you will need to choose a camera to start. You can either right-click on your camera of choice in the left-hand menu tree, or you can right-click on a camera loaded in the video pane on the right side of your screen. The menu item you are looking for, regardless of how you begin, is called Linked Camera Setup. When you select this menu item, you will see it opens the Linked Camera Setup screen as a new tab. The entire right-hand pane of the screen will be your Linked Camera Setup workspace. The image in the center, which is referred to as your primary camera, is there because this is the camera you launch the setup tool from, and will be configuring linked cameras for. If you'd rather have a different camera as your primary, simply exit by clicking the X on the tab that says Linked Camera Setup in the upper left-hand corner, and you will be returned to your live video view. Let's choose a different camera and start the process over. Now that we have our desired camera selected as primary, we can begin the process of building our links to our other cameras. You have the ability to link up to 16 cameras. To start the linking process, you will need to drag a camera's name from the menu tree displaying on the left to your desired placement on the right. If you make a mistake, especially as you're using this feature for the first time and figuring out how to make it best work for your needs, I'd like to give you a few tips. Placing your mouse next to the camera name and over the camera icon will give you a reference image to make it easier as you build these links. Next, if you make a mistake in placement, you can simply choose a different camera and drag it over the one you'd like to replace, and that change will happen instantly. If you want to remove a camera you already added and not replace it with another, you can right-click and select Remove. It may take a few test runs to choose how you want your cameras to be linked in a way that makes the most sense for your property's layout and staff who will be monitoring the security footage. If you'd like to clear the screen of your camera selections but not exit the setup tool, simply click Cancel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. This button will act as an Undo All button and clear all camera selections from the screen, leaving your primary camera in the center so you can begin cleanly. The only exception to this is if you've already clicked Save. If you've already clicked Save, then the camera locations are locked in, and hitting Cancel will only undo any changes you've made since the last save point. If you've already pressed Save once, and you would like to start completely over, simply right-click within any of the 16 camera sections and choose Remove All to clear the cameras and start over. Let's start again now that we understand the tool a little more and can imagine how to make it work for your layout. I would like to point out the green overlay that appears once you've dropped a video in one of the 16 available spots. This is the same green overlay that will appear on your live and historical video, so by simply clicking on one of the green overlays, you will jump to the camera you have linked. We have up to 16 spaces available to link cameras, and this is per camera. You are unlikely to use all directions, but there are enough to give you flexibility in your configuration. In this example, I am going to set a camera to the right so I can follow and easily monitor the area. I will click Save at the bottom and see a green Saved pop-up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. In order to exit and go back to live video, remember all we need to do at this point is click the X on the Linked Camera Setup tab in the top left corner. Now that we've returned to live video, everything looks just as it did before. Don't worry, our linked camera was in fact saved, but we need to turn it on. This feature is something you can enable and disable at will. To do this, simply right-click anywhere on your live streaming video. Right above the option we clicked on earlier to enter linked camera setup is an option that says Enable/Disable Linked Camera. If we click this, we will now see the green directional overlays that show in which direction we have linked cameras. The idea here is that if you set this up correctly, you can follow as someone is walking on your current screen in the direction you see them. For example, if they're walking to the right and are about to exit our current view, we will click the green overlay on the right-hand side, and we should seamlessly shift to a camera that will capture the area they are walking into. One thing to note is that we need to set up linked camera associations on each camera individually. For this next part, I am going to return to the linked camera setup we already completed on our first camera to show you how to easily set up any additional cameras. Remember, right-click in the video pane and choose Linked Camera Setup to return. We already have our camera set up to the right, and if we want to be able to get back to the camera we're currently looking at, we'll need to set up an additional association with this camera so that we can return. To do this, right-click on the camera to the right and choose Linked Camera Setup, and a new Setup tab will open with this camera as primary. Alternatively, if you've already exited Linked Camera Setup, you can simply right-click on the left-hand menu tree on the new camera and choose the same option, Linked Camera Setup. What we need to do here is set an association back to our first camera, and the direction needed here is to the left. Remember that once these are set up, they are saved to the cloud, and they will be available to all users on any thick client they log into. So while it may take a little time at the beginning to configure this feature exactly as you need, after you set this up, the long-term benefits are immediate, and the only time you may need to go back to reconfigure would be if you add new cameras. When viewing linked cameras within a multi-camera grid layout, it is important to highlight a key difference between live and historical video in terms of intended functionality. When viewing within live video, clicking a linked camera overlay will replace the current camera within the grid. When viewing within historical search, clicking a linked camera overlay will load the new camera in the next available location within the grid layout. To summarize, the linked camera feature makes it easier for users to visually track individuals or incidents as they move out of view in one camera and into another. Linked camera settings are saved to the cloud, making them easier for organizations to manage and ensure access by all users without having to manually synchronize settings or configure them on all clients individually. The time needed to train employees on how to navigate between cameras in the thick client is reduced. The intuitive layout allows a new employee or infrequent user to know how cameras are laid out within the organization without having to learn the current naming conventions. If you have any questions on this video or any of OpenEye's products or features, please reach out to training@openeye.net. Thank you for watching.